there's no completion. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Two Consoles Too Late podcast. I'm the host, Jackson Keebler, and I am Two Consoles Too Late. What does that mean? Here at this podcast, we look at the classics and the not-so-classics of retro video gaming, often for the very first time, and with no nostalgia. And today, on episode 160, we are looking at The Goonies 2 for the NES. It was released by Konami in 1987, and it is somewhat of a unique title. And with me later on the pod is going to be Twitch streamer and speedrunner Professor Retro to talk about this wonderful video game. We're also going to do some going long, a lot of news to talk about on the going long portion of the podcast. And on Auction Alert, we're going to see what's out there in retro gaming goodness, especially for the long box collection. And we're going to take a look at some Switch 2s, which I think fell out the back of a truck. Lots to talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go.
Going long. It is going long. Looking long. Going long. It is going long. Looking long.
Okay, I'm done that ice mocha. All right. And I apologize, but I want to get some caffeine in me because I got some big news about a certain game in the PS1 long box collection, but I don't want to talk about that right away. First, I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion. Every Saturday, 7:30 a.m., Twitch, YouTube, whichever you prefer, I do a live stream, and I play one of the games from the PS1 long box collection because games were meant to be played and not just put on shelves. This past Saturday for opening day, I played Triple Play 97 by EA Sports, a game that I considered to be the best baseball PS1 long box game. However, I proceeded to get my ass kicked. All right, so for opening day, I chose the Orioles versus the Twins at Camden Yards, and I don't know, something about that game. I'm not very good at it. I think the score was like 10-2 by the time I reset it. I don't think I even went to the ninth inning. As my son would say, Dad, I think it's a skill issue. So yeah, I'll take that. I don't think I was very skilled at that game to be losing 10-2. So anyway, after that ass whooping that I got, I just let the computer play itself, and the computer, that game went to extra innings. And I think I turned that one off. But in real life, the Orioles won opening day against the Minnesota Twins 2-1 with a wonderful outing by Trevor Rogers. So game one was a dub. But there's still plenty of baseball to be played here in springtime in Baltimore. But you can hear about all my pickups over at the Patreon at patreon.com/2consoles2late on the bonus podcast of Two Consoles Too Late Going Long. Because that is where I put all the stuff that makes this podcast go long, because this one is going to go long because we're talking with Professor Retro about Goonies 2. But I did manage to pick up a few games. I picked up College Slam, NFL Game Day, and Zoop. But
prepare for Operation Starblade.
That's right, we acquired Starblade Alpha for the PS1 long box collection. I joked on, I think, the last podcast that the minute I stopped collecting for the PS1 long box collection, a real banger was going to come up, and damn if one didn't. One of my save searches on my eBay is Starblade Alpha. And usually it's like a loose disc or the Japanese version. And my hopes of finding a long box copy that wasn't like graded or something ridiculous, my hopes weren't that high. But sure enough, this copy came across eBay. It was not complete in box. The case has a broken hinge, and the artwork looks a little damaged. So I did not pay full cost for Starblade Alpha. But it's here. It's a part of the collection. not yet though, because it was shipped promptly by the seller. Great communication with the seller, but it is now in the hands of the Postal Service, which means that, it'll be here Thursday. Nope, it'll be here Friday. Nope, it'll be here Saturday. And it's just sort of like, okay, it'll just get here when it gets here, because that's kind of how the post office runs these days. And to that, I have to say, stick it! All right, Goonies 2. How did I come to this game? I did not grow up with this game. I have no memories of this game whatsoever. I kind of knew it to be a Metroidvania, so I kind of always wanted to try it out. But when it comes to the NES, I'm not a big fan. I haven't talked about a lot of games here on the NES at the podcast just because a lot of those games just weren't very good. And, maybe that's a divisive look at the NES, but the NES as a system was a cultural phenomenon, but when you get right down to it, I think a lot of the games on the NES just weren't that good. Of course, you're going to have your Castlevanias, your Metroids, your Zeldas, and all that. But for the most part, I think most of the games on the NES were slop. Anyway, so that, I have no memory of Goonies 2. It's just a game that I loosely knew to be a Metroidvania. It's something I always wanted to try. And this is coming off the back of, playing TurboGrafx 16 games. So graphically, we were kind of in the same zone, especially with, 2-button controllers and whatnot. So I decided to stay right there because 2026 has not been too good when it comes to video games. Unlike many licensed games of the era, The Goonies 2 does not directly retell the events of the 1985 film, The Goonies. Instead, it serves as a loose sequel, I say loose sequel, expanding the universe with an original story, new gameplay systems, and a structure that blends multiple genres into a single gaming experience. But first, let's give it a little historical context. If you did not see The Goonies, I shall tell you now. If you haven't seen The Goonies, you live under a rock. And I don't want to talk about... It seems like for the last 20 years, there's been this stupid rumor that there's going to be a Goonies 2. And if you go on the YouTubes, there's lots of AI slop trailers of The Goonies 2. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think the actors who were in The Goonies are way too old to do a sequel. And anyway, I don't want to talk about that. So here we go, the historical context of The Goonies 2. The original film was directed by Richard Donner and produced by Steven Spielberg, and was a huge commercial success and quickly became a cultural touchstone of the 1980s. The movie was a mix of adventure, puzzles, and youthful exploration that made it an ideal candidate for adaptation into a video game. So Konami initially released The Goonies as a game in Japan in 1986 for home computers and the Famicom. However, the first game never saw a proper release here in the United States on the NES. Instead, Western audiences received The Goonies 2, a reimagined sequel designed specifically for the NES market. This decision reflected a broader trend in the late 1980s where Japanese developers would adapt or significantly alter licensed properties to better suit international audiences. Basically, that's ChatGPT's way of saying Konami was just trying to make a buck. The Goonies 2 stands out for its hybrid gameplay design, and yes, it is a hybrid. At its core, the game alternates between two distinctive perspectives. One is a side-scrolling action sequence perspective. The other is a first-person exploration room perspective. The dual structure was unusual for the time, and it demonstrated Konami's willingness to experiment within the limitations of the NES hardware. In the game, players take control of Mikey, who was played by Sean Astin in the movie. He is one of the Goonies on a mission to rescue his friends, other Goonies, from the Fratelli family. The game world is interconnected, requiring backtracking, item collection, and puzzle solving. And all these elements that closely align with early explorations of what would later be known and fondly loved here at 2 Consoles known as Metroidvania style design. The first-person segments in particular emphasize trial and error interaction. The players search walls, open doors, and use items to uncover hidden passages. However, these first-person segments of the game were a huge source of consternation here at 2 Consoles Too Late. Okay, the gameplay mechanics of the Goonies 2 revolves around a progression system that involves exploration and inventory management. Key gameplay elements include collecting items such as keys, bombs, slingshots, and tools. Amongst those tools are hammers and glasses. The game has you navigate in a maze-like world with interconnected zones. There's a front and a back part of the map. I started to draw my own map rather unsuccessfully. I will scan it in and put it over on the Patreon. It's something to behold. The game also has you rescuing captured Goonies to advance further and expand your life meter, and along the way you decode clues that guide progression. The weapons of the Goonies 2, your weapons are a little odd. I guess they're what a Goonie would be known for. Your weapons are a yo-yo, a slingshot, and a boomerang. What is it with games and yo-yos? So there's this, Star Tropics, Earthbounds. I've never once thought to militarize a yo-yo in any way, shape, or form. But a lot of video games, you see a yo-yo being used as a weapon. Graphically, visually, the game used a mix of detailed sprites and simple environmental design. There were different colored caverns that differentiated new areas, and there was an ice cave that had elemental obstacles like fallen stalactites and slippery floors. Graphically, I thought the game was okay. Being from Konami, you could kind of see that it had the bones of Castlevania, but it just missed being Castlevania in so many ways. I think the physics, the platforming physics of the game were very good, very, I would say, precise. The sprite work, I don't know. Mikey left a lot to be desired, and along with the enemies. But there were no bosses in the Goonies 2. And there's a lot of things about Goonies 2 that made it very different. So anyway, we're going to talk about all that here on Between the Headphones with Eric, also known as Professor Retro. He is a Twitch streamer and speedrunner of the game. I started playing Goonies 2 for my podcast, and I was looking up speedrun records, and you popped up, and I clicked on your video, and it brought me to your Twitch, and you were speedrunning Goonies 2 when I clicked on the link.
Yeah, you got lucky. I haven't run it in almost 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're going for what? The world record? Any percent?
Yeah, in any percent.
Okay.
So when I started speedrunning Goonies, there was only 2 categories. There was any percent and 100%. And what I discovered, well, actually somebody else discovered, this guy in the Netherlands named Zephys, he figured out that there was a way to warp in the game by using this momentum glitch, where you basically explode Mikey with a bomb while he's standing on a platform that's moving. If you do it just right, he'll fly across the screen, and this is in the red cave where you go through. It's kind of like a hub for the game. In this red cave, if you do it just right, he'll fly across the screen. It'll draw in tiles, and it may draw a vine tile. And if it does, you can climb down below, and you'll be at the next Goonie, and it saves 2 minutes.
I think I saw you do that yesterday on your stream.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it first try one time that whole stream, and I think you were there for that.
Yeah, I mean it's funny to see like a game being speedrun. Um, I'm a big Super Metroid fan, and that game completely changes when you speedrun it. And I'm seeing how
Oh
Goonies
yeah.
2 from your speedrun, the game just completely changes.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, you end up you end up not having to go through the volcano, which is really difficult. It's so easy to die in there because you have these fire-breathing dragon things. They take a whole bar of health when you get hit. And in the speed run, you don't get a lot of the items. You get all you get is the yo-yo, the bombs, the diving suit, and a ladder and some keys. That's really it. So you don't get things like the bulletproof vest that cuts your damage in half.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah,
in my gameplay, I've only gotten this far. I got the diamond suit, and now I'm trying to find the room that has the hole in the floor because I guess you have to go and get the other Goonie underwater.
yeah. One of the big things with that game is um, the glasses is very important. That's actually what
Yes.
you need to get that diving suit, and you
It's
have
just
no idea you need to do this.
well, I guess the biggest barrier I'm having with the game right now is when you go in those rooms, I mean, it's not really super hard to navigate, but there's like a checklist like, okay, hit the wall with your fist. That doesn't work. Hit it with a hammer. That doesn't work. Put on the glasses, and hopefully something turns up, like a door or a safe. And it's just that's been like kind of a big obstacle, and I think it's kind of from what I've seen briefly on the internet, it's kind of a barrier for others. But what do you think?
Yeah, it is. The game is so cryptic. It really doesn't tell you much, and it kind of trolls you. Like there's some safes, you open a safe and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome," and it just says The Goonies 2 is a really fun game or something to that effect. You're just
Yeah,
like, "What?"
I opened that safe. From what I understand, it's like the safes that you can't see. Those are the ones that have like objects that you need. That's been so. If I come across a safe, I usually don't open it and waste the key just because I'm like, okay, it's just gonna be a hint. And I'm trying to use some sort of internet walkthrough to get through the game. But like I said, I've only got as far as getting the diving suit, and trying to find the next Goonie. But there's no bosses in this game, is there?
No, no bosses at all. And that's one thing I like about the speed run is there's no variability. I mean, other than you need to get a random key drop, you need some RNG luck if you want to get a fast time, but there's no boss that's gonna make it difficult at the end. You just kind of go. Like the last stretch of the game, it's like 2.5 minutes, and it's totally up to you. I mean, if you execute, you're gonna get a good time.
One of the questions I had for you, one of the categories in speedrun.com is any percent out of bounds. What does out of bounds mean?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a great question. So what happened was that warp that I was talking about, the bomb, I call it the Zephyrus warp or the bomb glitch.
Okay.
Um, that takes you out of bounds. So because it creates this vine in the middle of a room, you can climb it down through to a room below, which turns out to be where the next Goonie is. So that's considered out of bounds. There's another place you can go out of bounds on the big bridge, which we call the OSHA bridge because of the holes in it.
Okay.
You can explode yourself there and spawn in a vine. And if you do that, it takes you down to that purple area, and then it's really weird. I have a video of it on my Twitch in there's like a Goonies collection. It's in there. It says RTA bomb glitch. When you do that one, you end up in this room that's not actually part of the map. It just draws in this weird room, and you jump out of it. And when you do that, you actually have to you get stuck in a wall unless you pause the game and unpause it, and then it like redraws the room correctly, and then you can keep going. It saves about 4 seconds, but it's so difficult to get that I don't bother.
It's funny that you call it the Ocean Bridge because it's once again going back to Super Metroid. Um, like there's areas in the game that speedrunners they've given them names like the Alamo. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but they give these like certain areas names when they're speedrunning the game that only other speedrunners would recognize those names, like the OSHA Bridge. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's what I love about speedrunning is the people who make the community come up with these things. And sometimes like this player Zephys, I call it the Zephys warp. And I don't think even within Goonies 2 community, many people know who he is. So I'm like, the Zephys warp, and they're like, who's that? What is that? And I tell them. So I called it the water warp when I made a video for it to describe it. I try to make videos for anything that I learn about. So you'll see I have like a really long tutorial that I made to show you like every little spot that I jump from and all that sort of stuff. And then I made a shorter video to try to get more people in the game that's like 25 minutes where it's just here's a basic speedrun route. I mean, the only thing that I do that's difficult in it is it's a glitch. So here's the thing with the any percent when I first joined Goonies, started speedrunning it, it had any percent and 100%. And I ended up beating the game 2 minutes faster than the previous world record using that Zephys warp. And instead of saying, "Oh, I have the record," the moderator decided, "Oh, we're going to make a new category called any percent, and then we're going to move all the old runs to any percent no out of bounds." So
Uh,
basically, I was on an island by myself. I'm like, great, nobody's ever going to play this category. There's no reason to. It's just me. And then Zephys ended up playing it like a year later and beat me by 2 seconds. So that's where that came from. And then there's 100% and 100% no out of bounds. Same thing. I said, well, if I did it in any percent, I'm going to do it in 100%. So I did. And so
well, that
I'm the only one in that category.
yeah, well, that's how I found you because I was clicking on the different categories. I went to 100%. And it was just you. I was like, well, I got to click on it, and that's how I found you. So how long have you? I mean, did you play Goonies 2 as a kid?
Yeah, my cousin got it for Christmas. I think it was either 87 or 88. And it was funny, all the games he would get, I liked. And I didn't really like as much the games that I had. And he didn't care about video games. Like, I don't know why anyone even got these games for him because he didn't play them. So I just borrowed all his games. And that's how I ended up playing that, Rygar, Trojan, like all
Oh
these
yeah,
games. He's
the
like, eh.
classics. Now,
People are like,
were you a fan of the movie as a kid?
"Oh yeah, I loved Goonies." I watched.
Yeah.
We used to watch it together, so that may have been why he got the game. Nobody got it for me. I just borrowed it, and I just loved the game. But I only beat it a couple times, and I couldn't figure out. I could never figure out again how I beat it because I didn't write anything down. I was like 8 years old playing it, and
Well, I
it wasn't until 2020 where I was like, I want to beat Goonies again, and I started watching a video of Arcus, big retro speedrunner. He was
oh yeah, I
playing
know.
it on a speedrun, and I was like, I started following him, and I was like, wait, I can keep up with him. I should try speedrunning. That's why I started speedrunning.
Is that the guy in the cowboy hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. I don't know. I mean, it's just I love his setup. You know, he's just got the hat. He's got a recliner. He was speedrunning this morning when I popped into Twitch.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I mean, we knew every line of the movie, and then, so I don't know really know how I came to Goonies too. It's just kind of like I kept seeing posts about it. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out, and I'm doing what I'm calling the year of the sequel. So I'm playing the sequels of video game sequels.
Ooh,
But Goonies 2 is a weird sequel because, well, there was a Goonies 1, it just wasn't released here, and
yeah.
it's a very, I mean, it's a very different game from Goonies 2 because Goonies 2 is more the term that we use now is Metroidvania. I don't think they had that term then. Um,
Yeah.
but it's Metroidvania. There's exploration. You have to backtrack. So I mean, right away, I was fascinated by a game like that because I love the original Metroid and things like that. But it's just those rooms. It's like why didn't they just keep it like side scrolling the whole time? I don't. It's just kind of an odd choice.
Yeah, that's actually what I liked about the game was the going in those other rooms because I'd never seen anything like that. Because when when I bought my Nintendo, I had Kung Fu, Super Mario Bros. It was all the black box games that I was getting, and then I played this game. I was like, wow, this is way different. And I just thought it was the coolest thing to have a quasi 3D thing to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to finish it. Hopefully today. I mean, it seems like a game that you can just sit down and have done in about an hour. I mean, you're a speedrunner, but like for the layman, you can have it done in about an hour or two with what, like a map and a walkthrough?
Yeah, if you have the walkthrough, definitely you could do it in an hour or so, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not terrible if you know where to go.
I love video games with maps. I had Brian Rigsby on my podcast. He has a whole book of video game maps, and so I tried doing like the old school, like drawing my own map, and I'm like trying to make sense of my own map, and I'm just it's an interesting dynamic because you have the front and the back, and then it's like, okay, how do I, where's the warp zone and the which door got me here? And it's a game for me,
Yeah.
I guess. Like I would have to sit down, like like I know the map of Metroid inside and out, and it's just a
Mhm.
matter, with Goonies too. I'd just have to sit down and play it over and over and realize, okay, this goes here, that goes there, Um, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get that far with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of red herrings in that game. In the 100% category, you have to get all the Molotov cocktails, all the bomb boxes, all that stuff. So, the Molotovs, they call them firebox. And
Yeah.
the two hardest things to get in the game are the two of the fireboxes. They're buried so deep in the game in places that there's absolutely no reason to go. But you have to get them for the 100% run, and that's the only reason I knew about them. Same with some keys. One of the keys is way buried way deep. Um, but yeah, I mean it's crazy how far you can go for something that doesn't do anything, like the Molotov cocktail.
And talk about that ocean bridge. So when you get in the game, you get a boomerang, and those flying head things. They always do. They always steal your boomerang, or is there
Yeah.
a way to avoid that?
Um, you you can kill it off, but in all likelihood, you're gonna get hit with a boomerang. So or he's gonna steal your boomerang. So you have to hit him so many times. You have to kind of keep him at bay with the yo-yo. And if he gets within like a couple pixels of your body, he just steals it. So in the 100% run, as long as you got the boomerang once, the rule is that you don't have to keep it, which is nice because I don't know how many people could.
All right. So you're going for the world record in which category? Just
In
all of
the
them, or
any
just
percent.
any percent?
I've had the record in all of them. I I've kind of decided that the only thing I care about is any percent because I want the fastest run. Um, I went back a couple years after I got the any percent and I got the any percent no out of bounds record because I was fifth place in that. That was the only one I didn't have podium in. And I was like, I gotta do that at least. And then I ended up getting the record, but it's been beaten since, and I just lost interest in it because I want the fastest time, and I don't wanna I don't like that the no out of bounds lets you do glitches, just not the glitch I like to do. So there's a
Now,
glasses glitch where you can make the game think you have the glasses without having them. That's what we do in the speed run. So that glitch is allowed, but not the out of bounds glitch. So to me, I'm like, I want to do everything.
yeah, I just think it's amazing how speedrunners just like as a community will just break a game right down, to its bones and be like, "Oh, I figured this out," and it'll be like 30 years out, well, 40 now, This game's been out for 40 years, and you're still finding things that can be broken.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that's great is this guy Mick Bob X. I think he lives in Morocco. He he did a Goonies TAS like 10 years ago and maybe more. And Zephys was the one who saw, oh, he was able to climb a vine through the floor and come out the room below without dying. And so that's where he came up with this setup for that warp that a human could do because the stuff that the task was doing was just insane. But there's all these little momentum glitches you can do. Like even jumping onto a platform, there's a way to, I don't know how to do this exactly because there's no input display, but there's a way to gain momentum just from jumping on a moving platform that's moving the same way you are. And I'd like to be able to do more of that in the run because Mikey Mikey doesn't move that fast even when he has the hyper shoes on. So I mean,
Yeah,
speeding him up in any way is a huge save, really.
yeah. I've got the hyper shoes. I haven't got the jump shoes because there's a one place where there's a really large gap, and obviously you can't jump it unless you have those shoes. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you can come out the other side of that. In the when I did damageless way back when, I actually come out the other side and jump. You can jump the gap with the hyper shoes if you are on that side. It's in that purple area where there's a doorway off to the right. You can jump over and live, but you can't jump to it without the jump shoes.
I mean, I'm enjoying the game, and it's just such a, I wouldn't say strange game. It's just like it's a Metroidvania. Um, there's no bosses. It's very dependent on exploration. But then there's so many, like, what you're talking about. There's so many things that can be done that just haven't been found yet.
Yeah, yeah, and there's other rooms that we could warp with. We'd need more bomb glitches, and I've tried really hard to do human viable versions of them. And like, there's this one room, it's a tan colored room just before the OSHA bridge. It's between the red cave and the OSHA bridge. There's this tan area, and there's a moving platform on the bottom that you would never even go near. But you can
Yeah.
actually do the momentum glitch on that. But I can't get it to spawn a vine. I don't know how to do it. I've tried. I've spent probably 10 hours on it. I just can't do it.
All right. Well, before I let you go, I always ask the same some questions to people who come on the podcast, if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thoughts on physical versus digital media?
To me, the whole one of the reasons I loved collecting games or playing games as a kid was I would have all the pieces. I'd have something in hand. I would buy the game. I'd carry around the box with me. I'd keep the whole setup. Like I had, how I don't know if you ever saw like way back when they had these plastic cases where you could put your games in, but there was a
Oh, yeah.
larger version of it that fit the box in there too. So I had like all these cases with the boxes and the manuals and everything. I just loved having all the art and everything. Just reading the manual, even though I already knew everything it said.
Well, your games are worth a lot more now because you did that.
Yeah, my mom threw out all the boxes, unfortunately.
This one's kind of an odd one. What's your favorite soft drink?
Favorite soft drink? Wow. The one that I've been drinking a ton over the last year is LaCroix. That's the sparkling water. They have one called Limoncello. Oh, there
Okay.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, limoncello. It's the first time I drank it, I was like, this is so nasty. And then I took more sips and I was like, I actually like this.
All right. All right. So where can we find Professor Retro?
So I would say the main thing is Professor Retro on Twitch. You can find me on there. You can find me on speedrun.com. And yeah, those are the places I would look. And then we have a Discord called the Retro Hollow if you want to I can give you the link to that if you want to link that, and you can find me on there.
Yeah, I joined that yesterday. I
Oh,
forgot
nice.
I forgot one question. What's your
Yeah.
favorite video game controller?
Ooh, this is going to be very unpopular, but I love the Genesis 3-button controller. I like the way it feels, how it's curved.
I like it
It's
too.
I don't think
And
it's a great controller, but I just love using it.
well, I mean, Sega kept that form factor, through the Saturn, and then, of course, when they got the Dreamcast, they, that strange thing.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I just like the feel of it. I think it works perfectly. I wish, I mean, I could use the dog bone controller for the Super Nintendo or regular Nintendo. It's too small for me. My hands are pretty big, so that's why I like the Genesis one.
Well, it's funny. I talked to a Super Metroid speedrunner, and they like Frankenstein controllers so that they can speedrun Super Metroid.
Ooh,
And I'm
wow.
just wondering, like with a game like Goonies, I guess you wouldn't need like to do that because you're on the old A B select start controller.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so used to using that controller that I've tried to use the dog bone and like I can't even use it. The buttons are not where they're supposed to be. They're like moved a little they're a little different, so I can't handle it.
Well, these are important things. I mean, we think that they're big, and then we tell that to someone else, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Just use the controller." So thank you once again to Eric, also known as Professor Retro, for coming here on the podcast. That was one of those weird conversations. It literally came together in the space of 24 hours. I was looking at speedrun.com. I was looking to see what the speedrun record for the Goonies 2 was, and under the 100% category was just him. So I started clicking some links, and it put me on over to his Twitch, and there he was, speedrunning the Goonies 2. And I jumped in the chat, and it all just came together, and we had this wonderful conversation. So once again, thank you and namaste. Be sure to check out his Twitch at Professor Retro. All right, we have to look at the collector's market of the Goonies 2 because it wouldn't be an episode of Two Consoles Too Late if we didn't look at the collector's market of a video game. So, for collectors, the Goonies 2 remains relatively accessible compared to other NES titles. Complete in-box copies are valued for their artwork and the connection to the film franchise. And as with many of Konami's releases, the game benefits from strong brand recognition and historical relevance. So a CIB copy of the Goonies 2 goes for $61 on Price Charting, but there is a 5-screw variant that goes for $90. But I found a copy that is graded and being auctioned off, and it's not going off on the shop Goodwills. It's going off on Heritage Auctions, and we're going to take a look at that on Auction Alerts. Auction alert. So I popped on over to Heritage Auctions to see what a graded copy may have sold for. And they've actually got a copy that is up for auction, and there's 19 hours and 32 minutes left on this auction at the time of this podcast. So sometime within the next 24 hours, this thing is going to go. Right now, a graded copy is going for $925, but with the buyer's premium, that comes to $1,156. This is graded. It's graded by PSA, which I guess is what used to be WADA. And it's got a grade of 9.2 A+. So it's looking pretty good. So a graded copy can be had over at Heritage Auctions. A graded copy, according to the price chartings, goes for $13.50. So I'm not sure if it's going to reach that, but we shall see. So something a little bit different here on Auction Alert, but there's a few other listings I wanted to talk about on the shop Goodwills, especially long box listings. If you're a regular listener to the show, I had a bit of an ordeal with a shop Goodwill on the West Coast out in the Pacific Northwest. And I stupidly, I bid on a game that I thought was a game, but it turned out not to be a game at all. And instead, what I got was 3 empty long box cases. And I had to send them back. And it took me a month to get a refund from this shop Goodwill for these 3 empty cases. Because I paid $90 for what I thought was Space Griffin VF9. But what I got instead was empty cases of In the Zone, Space Griffin VF9, and Rayman, all without manuals. So it took me a whole month of messaging and phone calls to finally get that refund. But they ended up relisting those 3 empty cases somewhat correctly this time. The listing's over now. The title was Lot of Empty Vintage PlayStation Longbox Game Cases. They did not specify whether the game cases had the manuals. They relisted all those cases, and they sold for $46, which I think is interesting because when I looked up those 3 cases on Price Charting, it only came to $30. So somewhere out there, someone valued these enough to pay a premium on those. But still, to that goodwill, I have to say.
Stick it!
Okay, so real quick, on the last episode of the podcast, I jokingly said I was not going to do any PS1 long box collecting until April. And I jokingly said at the time that the minute I said that, a copy of Tekken was going to come up on the shop Goodwills. Well, guess what? That actually happened. Of course, Starblade Alpha came up on the eBays, but there was a listing on the shop Goodwills. It actually sold during the recording of this podcast. It was a lot of 7 PlayStation 1 games with cases and manuals. That was the title. I completely missed this listing because I guess Longbox wasn't in the title. But I'm usually pretty diligent, but I kind of missed this listing. And the games included Tekken, Air Combat, Ridge Racer, Wipeout, Top Gun Fire at Will, Warhawk, and Lemons 3D. I've got all those games except for Tekken. And I just think that it's hugely serendipitous that I make a joke like that, and sure enough, comes along this listing. And these games looked really good. And it took every ounce of willpower that I have, which isn't much. I can safely say I'm a weak soul here at the podcast. I did not bid on this, but these games, the condition was wonderful. I'm not really much of a condition collector. I mean, I have passed over long box games in the past that have been on the shop Goodwills because they just look like utter dog shit. But these did not. These looked really good. But I passed on them, and the listing sold for $150. All right, so real quick, we're getting a little long in the tooth here at the podcast. Over on the shop Goodwills, there is numerous Switch 2s to be had, and they're all coming from one shop Goodwill in particular. It's coming from the Goodwill of the Willamette Valley. I joked that I think these things fell off the back of a truck and somehow ended up in their possession. Let's see, our prices right now: 14 bids, $351. 13 bids, $321. 4 bids, $317. Another one, 23 bids with $311. So if you're looking for a Switch 2, you can get one on the shop Goodwills. I've been seeing some grumblings that the numbers for the Switch 2 have not been meeting Nintendo's expectations, despite all the, what's that called? I was going to say, not vitriol, propaganda being put out there by Nintendo. It's just there's no games for the Switch 2. I mean, Mario Kart World, I think, is kind of turned into a dud. I mean, they re-released Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild with some graphical enhancements. Way to go. I think there's some third-party games on there. Let's see here. Cyberpunk 2077. You can finally play it on the Switch. The new Resident Evil, I think, just got released on the Switch. But I think Bob 2 is just going to suffer the fate of the Wii U here. It was so hyped And everybody's like, oh, what's going to happen with the next Switch? And it's finally here, and it's just kind of like, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing here. I mean, Metroid Prime 4, I mean, that game's just a dumpster fire. It looks great on the Switch, too, don't get me wrong. So graphically, it's a wonderful console, but when it comes down to sitting down with it and playing a game, there's not much there. But anyway, that's me. I do have a Switch, too. Well, I don't have it. My son has it. And the only thing he ever plays are games that he used to play on Switch. We haven't acquired any Switch 2 exclusive titles. And probably won't for some time. Just because as long as they keep releasing games on Switch that are on Switch 2, I'm always going to buy the Switch version. That's just me. All right, well, thank you for listening to the podcast. I've been the host, Jackson Keeler. And thank you once again to Eric, also known as Professor Retro, and coming here and taking his time to talk with me about speedrunning, this wonderful classic from Konami. Check out the Patreon. We talked a little bit about games done quick when it comes to Goonies too. So pop over to the Patreon and check out our extended conversation. Once again, all that content over there is free. All right, I'm going to get out of here and go donate some blood and sell an organ because my video game expenditures recently have been rather extravagant. But if you head on over to the patreon.com/2consoles2late and you support this podcast monetarily, I can send you all sorts of good stuff. I can send you the signed postcard, a signed trading card, and a Miracle of Save States fridge magnet. And that's at I think I set it up for like the $5 level. But hey, if you want to give me more than that, please do. All right, I'm tired. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm playing Breath of the Wild, a game that just never gets old. I wanted to play it on the Wii U, but I couldn't find a copy, so I had to settle for the Switch version. But as always, have a good one. I love you, and goodbye.
Was that enough?
I don't know. How was your day?
It was fantastic.
You know this is going to be on the podcast as a blooper, right?
No, absolutely not.
Yes, it will. Come on.
Well, I need to fold laundry. So.
Total blooper. All right, bye. I love you.
I love you too. Bye.